Hello everyone and welcome back to more Banjo-Kazooie, and in this episode we're going to be going off to the first world, which is known as Mumbo's Mountain. But of course, in order to do that first, we need to collect this thing right here, which is known as a Jiggy, as there are 10 of them in each world that we go to throughout this game. But of course, while we're on our way down to opening the first world, a user known as Hypershadow said in episode 1, because I was looking back on some of the comments, some interesting trivia actually, because even though I did show off in episode 1 of that little picture or so in Banjo's house, you know, that shows the testing level that they did for Banjo-Kazooie, while it was a testing level, apparently a game that they developed, known as Donkey Kong 64, actually they used that testing level and finished it up and then put it in Donkey Kong 64, so there was this world in that game known as Fungi Forest, and that is basically what that level is, but complete, which is bloody wicked. I did not know about that, really. I do actually own Donkey Kong 64 myself, but I haven't really played it that much, so that's why I didn't really mention it in the episode. I mean, I've played a bit of the game, but I don't know. Like, I think it's probably just because I played Banjo-Kazooie first, and I like this game a little more in my opinion, but you know, that's not to say Donkey Kong 64 is a bad game, it's just, I don't know, it's one of those games that I will play it for like a little bit of a while, then I'll just suddenly lose my motivation and then go off and play something different. Believe me, I have this with an awful lot of games in my collection, like god, even some of the games which are regarded as, you know, one of the greatest of all time. Like hell, a lot of people like this game known as The Legend of Zelda: The Wind Waker. I've played it and it's a bloody brilliant game, don't get me wrong and stuff. I don't know. Like, I always just seem to somehow just not play it till the very end. Yet I can somehow play through really long games like Kingdom Hearts and Shenmue, so I don't know how that makes any sense, but still. But either way, I'm going off topic. Welcome to the first world, which is known as Mumbo's Mountain, and this is pretty much where the main principles of Banjo-Kazooie come into play, because even though in the first episode we did collect those Honeycomb Pieces, that was pretty much all that was available outside in order to extend our health. Instead, we get given these whole bunch of things to collect in these worlds, and the thing that I like the most about Banjo-Kazooie's design, especially when it comes to Banjo-Tooie, is the fact that the majority of the worlds, you can literally collect everything in one shot, so you don't really have to go off to a next world, get this ability, and then come back to it, because the ability is in that location. There's literally only one area, I think, in Banjo-Kazooie where you have to backtrack, and we'll get to that when we'll get to that or so. But of course, one thing that I like to do when playing Banjo-Kazooie myself is when I get to these types of worlds, you can talk to bottles and then gain these new abilities in order to get some of the other jiggies and musical notes. But one thing I always like to do, because of how many times I played this game, is particularly for Mumbo's Mountain, is I always like to just go around and grab all of those moves from bottles to begin with, just so that then I can get the jiggies and other things a lot faster that way. While I am aware that I can always just go around and get everything in one shot, I like to mainly get all the moves, just so that then when I go to one area, I can literally get everything that's required. So for instance, like, you know the talent shot that I'm using right here, that will be needed to get a certain jiggy in this part or so, and I want to get that all done and out of the way, but then, somewhere down the bottom, there'll be this switch or so that you have to hit in order by performing a ground pound, and of course, I don't like to just go down to there, get the thing done, and then go all the way back up just to get the upgrade that I need from bottles, and then come all the way back down just to hit the switch. I don't know, that's just my preferred playstyle when it comes to Banjo-Kazooie. And that's why I think a lot of gamers really like Banjo-Kazooie as a game. Because of, you know, just the amount of preference that you have for the worlds that you do. Nobody's telling you, like, what order you have to do things. So even for people who have made their own walkthroughs and LPs of this game, it will be different each time, because you can literally do these in any types of order. And that's probably why I come back to this game a lot, because even though games can be a bit linear in places, I often like it when they're open world and they just let you feel free, you know? I mean, you're basically literally dumped into these areas when you go visit the world's Banjo-Kazooie, and you're like, have an explore, have a look around at this huge world, and just come back, you know, with everything as much as you can. Now in this LP, of course, I'm going to be collecting every single item, so I'm going to be collecting all of the Jiggies and all of the musical notes, as well as the Honeycomb, so I'm going to beat this game fully to 100%. And I'm actually also going to be doing the little puzzle swap minigames afterwards, just because I don't know, I think it's a fun little nod. Also, if anything though, I find that when it comes to the puzzle swap minigame, which I will be showing off much later, and by that I literally mean in the bonus video of this series, by the way, so that's a long way down the line, I honestly find that sometimes the puzzle swap minigames is like the hardest part of the game, as like when compared to everything else, but that's probably because I've beat Banjo-Kazooie so many times that most of it is in the back of my memory. Now this game, even though I do like it a lot and it's my second favourite game of all time, I didn't actually grow up with this as a kid. In fact, the first time that I got access to this game and played it for the very first time in my life and completely freaking enjoyed it was back in around 2013, and in fact on the day of Halloween, because oddly enough, I don't know how this happened, but there's this local shop that I live near or so, or at least it was back then. I don't know if it's still around now, but I went over there and I simply asked them on the day of Halloween of 2013, this is, it had to be Halloween of all days, hey, do you have any N64 games? Because I was curious to see if you have them around the back. And they said, okay, yeah, we'll have a look. And so I just waited a while. And then they came back with all these bunch of Nintendo 64 games. And I was just like, wait, what? Whoa. There was like a whole like handful of them. And some of them were like really rare and stuff as well. Particularly, the one that stood out to me the most was Banjo-Kazooie. I was really shocked to find Banjo-Kazooie there. I was like, oh my god, you have Banjo-Kazooie? I need to pick this up from you right now. I have the cash in my hand. Here's the cash. Give me the game. Okay, that's not literally what I said. The guy might have found me a bit mental if I said something like that, but, you know, that's what I was thinking inside my head. So, of course, I gave him over the money, and just that was the day I played Banjo-Kazooie the very first time from that day. So yeah, it was Halloween of 2013. Sadly, not 1997 on this game's day of release, but even playing it in 2013, I was like, oh my god, this game is awesome right here. Also, I don't know how I managed to do this. This is by complete freaking accident. Usually I have a lot of trouble shooting the eggs at Conga when trying to collect the Jiggy and stuff, but that little ground pound I did that by accident. But by the time Banjo flipped over, he managed to be able to dodge out of the way of throwing the thing. That was like completely by accident. I did not mean for that, but whatever. Another thing I find weird is, look at this. I fall off right here after hitting the switch, but then it just puts me back on the center. I don't know why. It even does that on the N64 version as well. It's a bit absurd, to be honest. Okay, that's 4 Jiggies so far. Jesus. Okay, wow. Like, I do tend to be a little bit quicker on this game, like in my spare time, because you might have noticed in this walkthrough that the dialogue is going by really slow. That's only just because I'm lightly tapping the A button just so then you can read it at like your own pace, because I'm sure there are some of you who are watching this LP that have never played this game before and are curious, you know, to all the dialogue that the characters say and everything. So I thought, yeah, you know what, I'm just gonna like speed up just a little bit or so in order to get through, because usually in my spare time when I'm playing this game, I just hold down the A button and then just speed through the text, because while the characters are talking, if you hold down the A button, it speeds up and puts them at a higher pitched voice, which sounds really funny also. I don't know, that's just how I usually always do it. Because at the end of this episode, I looked back at how long this level took, and it took a bit longer than my usual playthroughs, I will say that much. But that's the main reason why, because I'm always just waiting for the dialogue to go by really slowly or so, but it's for your enjoyment and stuff, but still. Also, some of the worlds might be split up into places here and there, because of course this is the first world, and it's nice and easy for me to do. In fact, wow, we're literally halfway through collecting all the Jiggies. at this point in time. Wow, that's good going right there. But, yeah, later on in that, they get a bit more spacious and bigger, so of course, you know, it might be part 1 of 2 or something, but I don't know, it just depends really, because I mainly like to keep my videos short here and there. Also, I like how many Jiggies you can collect in that one shot. And that's what I mean, by the way, when I was basically explaining about why I like to get the moves first and then go to those areas. So you saw right there, you know, I needed to have the egg shooting ability just in order to get that Jiggy, and as well as that Honeycomb Piece on top, as well as also learning the ground pound move in order to take down those huts and then find everything inside them, you know? Also, a fun little fact, by the way, this character right here is known as a, he's known as Mumbo. Well, actually, no, that's not the fun fact, but the composer to this game is known as Grant Kirkhope, and he's the one that actually voiced Mumbo himself. And one thing that always was quite interesting to me is the dialogue that he says, because I always thought it was quite funny. Apparently, Grant Kirkhope said that why Mumbo speaks in the words known as Ekambokum is because he actually just recorded himself saying the line known as come and have a go if you think you're hard enough, which is basically a British or English term that we say when watching a football game or something, I suppose. And he literally just said that and cut it all up into different pieces, so that then he basically created the Ekambokum that way. So he said, come and have a go if you think you're hard enough, cut it up, and that's how Ekambokum was formed, which I find is really cool. Another thing that's also a bit interesting, but also slightly disturbing that he talked about, is you might have noticed every time, or at least should I say in this episode, when Mumbo turned me into that termite, he said, Uminaka? You might have heard it and stuff, I don't know, because there's a lot of sound effects going on, but he does say Uminaka also. And the reason why he says that is a bit dark, really. Okay, so, let's just say he had a bit of a problem, and if you're not familiar with the British term known as Naka, look it up. I don't really want to say it in this video or so, but if you look up the term Naka, and then consider he had a problem with his Naka, then you might know what I'm talking about. And that's the reason why I was saying it, because apparently during that time of recording, that's the problem that he had while he was trying to say that line, which is a bit strange, but there you go. Okay, cool, and that's... wow, okay, we're actually near the end of Mumbo's Mountain already. Jesus, this is going by really quick. Oh, by the way, in each world, you want to keep an eye out for 2 of those honeycombs. I know in Spiral Mountain that I did collect all 6, but that's only just literally just to show that you can literally expand your health very easily by collecting all 6. So of course there's going to be 2 on each world that we go to, and 100 notes. Now one thing you might have missed also, if you've played this game before or something, or been a bit confused by it, is even though I did collect all 10 Jiggies, usually what happens is after the celebration that Banjo and Kazooie do, they tend to jump about and then celebrate it, hinting that you've completed the world. That only occurs when you are actually them, so if you turn into the creature and do it, it cancels out that animation completely, which is extremely useful for speedrunners, because you saw right there, that Jiggy that I just collected, they're not doing their little dancing animation, so you can just treat that as like a speedrunning tactic, if you will. And of course, after a while, this of course means that even though I am the termite, if I try to escape out of it, the magic goes away and now I am turned back to the bear and bird instead. And that's the thing that will happen for each world and stuff going on. But I'm really happy to be talking about this game. I've been wanting to do this game for so long, like you have no idea. I even was originally going to do this game on an emulator and stuff with an N64 and everything, just so that then I could record it, because Banjo-Kazooie is a game that I've just wanted to do an LP of for absolutely ages. But the main reason why I didn't is because the only version I had of the game, guys, was the N64. And the N64, the best resolution it can perform is really bad nowadays. I'm not saying it makes like the games really terrible, because it doesn't. The games are fantastic on the N64, such as Banjo-Kazooie and Majora's Mask. But all I'm saying is, you know, the N64, it outputs composite. Composite in this day and age is not a good idea to record through. It's a real shame though that the N64 doesn't support RGB SCART. Oh, by the way, this is Gruntilda right here. Hello there, young ones. I'm Gruntilda, there you go. Gruntilda's nicest sister. I've crept down here to help you defeat the old hag. It's about time she was taught a lesson. I know all of Grunty's disgusting secrets, and I'll tell you 3 of them every time you find me. Remember them well, young ones, as they will help you avoid a fiery fate. Press X if you would like to hear them. Okay, let's try one. Grunty brushes her rotten teeth with tuna ice cream flavored toothpaste. This line delivery is excellent. She also washes her hair with baked beans. Yuck! Oh god, that's a bit horrid. And she gets her clothes from Saggy Maggie's boutique. Now you might be asking, why the hell am I reading all this? Well, like she said, it'll avoid a fiery fate. I wonder what that could mean or so. We'll find that out much later, believe me. But you mainly want to do that when you come across Gruntilda, and that's something I'm going to be doing throughout this walkthrough. Like, every time I see Gruntilda, I'm going to be reading to you guys the things she is saying, because believe me, you will need to know those, as it is very surprising later. When you open a oh. Yeah. Okay, that was weird. Gruntilda didn't get to finish what she was saying. I do have that from time to time on this game. Like, Gruntilda is always popping up and basically, you know, reminding you that I'm at the top, Tootie is captured, ha ha ha, evil villain, blah 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 and stuff. That's perfectly explained. But, yeah, even though she does do that, she pops up in some random times. And by that time, sometimes she pops up, I've already gone through the door, so she'll start talking, and it'll just cancel out what she's saying. Also, she speaks in complete rhyme. I don't know if you noticed that, but I find that freaking great for a witch and that. It makes her much more memorable and more, like, you know, lovable as a character and everything to be a villain. But either way, we're at the end of episode 2 of Banjo-Kazooie, so I will see you in the next one when we go through Treasure Trove Cove. See you then.